Devon, can you hear the Northern Lights?
Not really. Most of the time when people think they're hearing the Northern Lights, what they're actually doing is projecting it. In the sense, you're associating sounds that you're hearing in your environment with the motion that you're seeing up above. You're not actually hearing what's going on there because, first of all, it's usually 80 to 100 kilometers away. And if you count if you listen to thunder and lightning and count off the seconds, well, that's, it's much, much larger when you're thinking about that sort of distance. And also, the phenomenon itself is not going to produce sound. However, there is an interesting effect that has been measured. You can listen to the Northern Lights on radio. And see, what's happening when you see the Northern Lights, Aurora Borealis, is essentially the sun is producing a stream of very energetic charged particles called the solar wind, constantly happening all the time. Sometimes it gets very energetic. And it leaks into, you can think of the Earth's magnetic field as like a shield. Think about Star Trek, it's a big shield. And where the magnetic field lines of the Earth come back down to the North and South Pole, it's a thinner shield. So it's easier for charged particles to be channeled there or leak in there. And that's when they encounter the upper atmosphere and ionize parts of the upper atmosphere and create this wonderful light show. So what's happening is nitrogen, and so you've got these energetic protons coming in and whacking the nitrogen and knocking electrons off, and it glows. So nitrogen mostly, but there's other gases in there as well. And that's all happening very, very high up. So, but because it's involving electromagnetic activity, you get radio discharges. And if you find a nice radio quiet space area, like in the middle of Saskatchewan, you can tune in those radio signals and listen to them. You can listen to a whole lot of other radio signals that are going on in the upper Earth's atmosphere as well. They can sound like choo-choo trains, and they're like, they're known as screamers, screechers. There's a variety of names. They sound wild, actually. There's recordings of them available online. But one of the other things that I've heard, not myself personally, but what's been talked about, is that because of the nature of the types of radio waves that are being produced, you can detect them with antennas that you normally wouldn't expect, such as pine needles. And there have been cases where people have essentially said that the pine boughs and pine needles, because of their long, elongated structure, are serving almost like antenna, and there is actually a little bit of a crackling sound that's being produced by them because they're serving as almost radio receivers. And so that radio signal is then being translated into audible sound that you can hear very, very faintly. So now, how well documented that is, I'm not terribly sure. But, that's a connection. But would you be actually listening to the Northern Lights themselves? No, because the phenomenon that's going on there isn't really producing sound in the way that you would normally think of sound happening.
That was Devon Hamilton for you. This is an update from the prototype lab world. When we have a question, we have people we can go to for answers.
Uh-oh.